Welcome back to the Prez podcast. We're going to do our Week 3 NFL recap, and I am your host, the Prez, and this, as always, is Keenan. We're happy to bring you this NFL recap. We're going to do 5 games we think that are most influential in the NFL season, and then we'll give you a little tidbit about the rest of the games that happen on the weekend slate and give you a brief preview of this Thursday's matchup and a prediction for how we think it's going to go. But let's get into it. We're going to start with the craziest game I've seen in a long time as the Miami Dolphins drop 70. You heard that right. 7-0 on the Denver Broncos, beating them 70-20. They had 726 yards of total offense. They scored 10 touchdowns on offense. Now you think you see the score 70, there would be some defensive pick sixes, maybe some... No. They just scored 10 touchdowns on offense. Denver couldn't stop them. Not even their backups. They couldn't stop anybody. It's crazy. And now, interesting thing about this, a little tidbit about this, is Mike McDaniel was a ball boy for the Denver Broncos, came up through that organization, was offensive coordinator in 2022 when they were trying to hire Nathaniel Hackett. You know, that's who they may decide to hire. Wouldn't even interview the guy. Think he took that a little personal, maybe? Maybe he had this game circled on the schedule, took it out on the Broncos. As for Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, I don't think you actually can blame this on Russell. He's played pretty well the first 3 weeks, and he played decent in this game. But that defense, Vance Joseph, defensive coordinator, didn't make any adjustments, didn't stop a thing, and it looked really bad. I don't know where Denver goes from here, but it's not up. They got a lot of things to fix, and it's very unfortunate for them. For the Miami Dolphins, I mean, I picked them to be in the Super Bowl and win the AFC, so I'm pretty excited about what's going on for them, but that's just a complete crazy offensive showing, and congrats to the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I think that the Dolphins' offense, this again proves how good that they are. And I really like how they utilize the running backs here. Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane both getting 4 touchdowns. Not only just rushing, but also passing in the receiving game. They had a lot of fakes, a lot of shovel passes even, and I think all of these inventive ways to use them, I think, looked very good.
Yeah, good point. That Tua had that backhanded, pitch with his right hand. Something we've seen Kansas City do, but seeing the inventiveness of Mike McDaniel on offense, it's pretty fun to see. So I hope Tua stays healthy, and good luck to Miami the rest of the way. Next up, another surprising result. Dallas goes to the desert and loses to the Cardinals 28-16. It's not even. Wasn't really like I would say it was a close game. The surprising thing is not necessarily that Dallas only put up 16, is that vaunted Dallas defense let Arizona and Josh Dobbs put up 200 yards rushing, 222 yards rushing on the Cowboy defense. Yikes. I don't know what's going on. Dallas was down a couple offensive linemen. Maybe you could say that affected their offense, but their defense wasn't. I know they lost Trayvon Diggs, but they're giving up rushing yards. I mean, if your outside corner is hurt, that really shouldn't affect your defensive run scheme. What you're doing to stop the run shouldn't be, determined by how your corner's health is. So I was kind of surprised by this result. Obviously, Arizona, played really well in first half, so they played really well in this first half, built a lead, but didn't go away in the second half like they had in their first 2 matchups. They stayed with it, and it looked like they really wanted this one. And they, a lot of them has been made about Jonathan Gannon as a coach. He seems like he's cheesy. His speeches are kind of a little weird. He seems like, but they poured Gatorade over him for his first NFL coaching win. I thought that says a lot about what's going on in this locker room and how Arizona's playing hard and what I'm saying. So kudos to them getting their first win of the season. For Dallas, you started off so well the first 2 weeks. Looked like you were a juggernaut, and then you lay this egg. I don't know what to make of it. And the slate's only going to get harder for them. Obviously, they have 2 games against Philadelphia. They have a big matchup against San Francisco coming up. They're going to have to turn it around quick.
Yeah, this was disappointing from the Dallas defense. Going into this, I thought Dallas would easily win this, but they just allowed too many yards to Arizona, both through rushing and receiving. The defense did not play good enough, not to the standard that we usually put them up to, that we usually expect from them.
Right.
So, this play, is it going to continue from their defense? Don't know.
Yeah. I mean, Josh Dobbs was 17 out of 21. I mean, crazy. I don't know what Denver. I don't know. Not Denver. Sorry. I'm still baffled by Denver as well. I don't know what Dallas was doing that game. Next up, we got the Packers coming back to beat the Saints. Saints were up 17-0 at halftime. Third quarter, Derek Carr goes out with a shoulder injury. Turns out it's just a sprained AC joint. Glad to see he's not seriously injured. Jameis Winston comes in, not able to really do anything on offense, and then the Packers score 18 straight in the fourth quarter. Now, this was Jordan Love's first home start after taking over from Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau. It's a pretty big deal, and for him to have that moment and that comeback, I'm pretty happy for him. Pretty exciting to have that win. You got to remember, he was without three important offensive starters. His best tackle, David Bakhtiari, Christian Watson, his young receiver, and of course his best offensive player on his roster on offense in Aaron Jones. So having those three key people out and for him to lead that comeback in the fourth quarter, pretty impressive. For the Saints, your defense is still playing well. It sucks to have this, but you lost that momentum. Offensively, if you could have gotten a few more first downs, controlled the ball a little bit more in the second half, you hold on and win this game. Obviously, it was very, very close. It's hard to lose your starting quarterback in the middle of the game. I don't think this is going to have a huge effect on the Saints' season. I think that they're going to be in a lot of close battles this way. But the one thing I will say is that offensively for the Saints, they do need to really pick it up offensively, but they do get Kamara back next week. So we'll see if that helps things out, and we'll see what Derek Carr's health handles it. For Green Bay, we'll talk more about what they're going to do later in this episode as we prepare them for the Lions. But exciting win for Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers at home in Lambeau.
Yeah, them somehow continuing with the comeback win to keep that home opener streak.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's their 11th. Good call.
Yeah, New Orleans, with the loss of Derek Carr, weren't able to do much on offense, and they just allowed this 18 points, Green Bay going for the 2-point conversion to get the 1-point win in the end. Their offense wasn't able to keep it up and keep scoring to keep the lead, and Green Bay just capitalized on that.
Right. Yeah, there's an interesting bit of strategy there. Green Bay was down 17-3. They scored a touchdown to make it 17-9, and they decided to go for two. Now, some people may be confused by that, but if you go for two there, it gives you more options when you score again. And obviously, when they scored that touchdown to make it 17-17, all they had to do was kick an extra point for a win, and that's what they did. So it can work out. Analytics say that, hey, if you miss, you go for two. It's still 17-9. You still have a chance to tie if you score that touchdown. But only way you have a chance for a win is if you go for two there and win it in regulation. So great bit of strategy by Matt LaFleur, and pretty cool to see it. People talk about analytics all the time. This is a great example of how that going for two can work out for you. All right, next up, another upset as the Colts go into Baltimore, their old stomping grounds. Remember, the Colts are originally from Baltimore, and beat the Ravens 22-19 in overtime. This game is interesting. We watched overtime, and I really do believe that there was a non-call on Baltimore's last drive in overtime on the crossing route. I felt like he was interfered with, and they didn't call it. I thought the linebacker speed got away with wrapping his arm around the waist and turning the receiver. And then Indianapolis has a short field, and Matt Gay kicks his fourth 50-plus yard field goal to win it for the Colts. For the Colts, this is interesting. Gardner Minshew, he's not a flashy quarterback. He's not going to, really dazzle you with amazing throws. He is, he's a perfect NFL backup quarterback. And I don't think if you're the Colts, you're thinking about having him start over Richardson. Once Richardson's health is good, you plug him right back in and give that guy reps. Just make sure he protects his head. But I think Minshew will be in the league for another decade as a backup and a really quality backup, and he's going to make a lot of money in this league. And he's a great guy to have on your team, and he loves it. He gets excited and he wins, so it's exciting. For the Colts, it looks like they're going to get Taylor back. So to get a win, and think about this, the Colts, I believe, are 2-1 and leading the AFC South. Every other team is 1-2. I don't think anybody would have predicted that after 3 weeks. Pretty crazy. For Baltimore, again, turnovers. I thought Lamar was playing well, but there was a couple fumbles in this game. Obviously, that pass interference called not going their way, but they had their own chances. It wasn't like it was their first possession over time. I still feel like they're trying to figure out this offense. There's some consistency issues there, and I give it some time. I feel like, maybe by the middle of the season we'll see a better offense than what we're seeing for Baltimore from week to week. But tough way to lose at home.
Yeah, I think that I was impressed on how the Colts defense played,
Right.
in my opinion. I think that their pass rush did good, and they were able to limit the Baltimore Ravens' opportunities on offense. And they were able to keep it close that way and ultimately get the field goal in overtime.
Yeah. Interesting, yeah, because Lamar played pretty well, did throw for 200 yards, had 2 rushing touchdowns, 300 total yards offense, but did have a couple fumbles and was sacked 4 times. So that's, credit to the Colts defense, like you said. Good call. Also, Colts able to run the ball pretty well. Zach Moss had a big day. Next up.
Receiving touchdown.
Oh, he caught a touchdown pass too. Yes, nice. Next up, another surprise result. The Houston Texans go into Jacksonville and demolish the Jaguars 37-17. Jaguars, tons of hype coming in this year. A lot of people thought they were going to walk away at the AFC South. Obviously, tough matchup against the Chiefs last week, 17-9 loss. Thinking Houston's coming to town. Oh, great time to rebound. Houston's 0-2. They got a young team, and that's just not how it goes. C.J. Stroud right now looking like the best of the first-year quarterbacks. Maybe the best situation. Bryce Young has no offensive line, has been hurt. Anthony Richardson has also been hurt. So we've seen more of C.J. Stroud, but boy, does he look good. Really efficient, really decisive in his decision-making, really accurate. And he has a good left tackle named Tunsil that helping protect his blind side. But that team also has a lot of holes. I don't think their defense is that great. I feel like Jacksonville just played really, really poor offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Calvin Ridley, since week 1, has not looked great dropping passes. They've just looked out of sync. They gave up a kickoff return to a fullback. You heard that right. The fullback, up man, received it, dodged 3 guys, and returned it 85 yards for a kickoff return touchdown. It just seems like, we give Doug Pearson a lot of credit for a Super Bowl win in Super Bowl 52 with the Eagles, that he was going to come in and revitalize this team. Remember, they came back the second half of the season, but off to a really rough start for Jacksonville, being 1-2. I hope they can turn it around, but it's not looking good right now.
Yeah, Jacksonville, with the turnovers and the missed field goals, Houston capitalized on that. Their offense did good with C.J. Stroud, as you mentioned. The kickoff return for the touchdown. Huge touchdown for Tank Dell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, Tank Dell. Yeah, the rookies are playing great, right? Tank Dell's playing good. C.J. Stroud's playing good. Will Anderson playing good. Blocked field goal. So, they went all in on that draft, obviously trading up to get Will Anderson, and they got C.J. Stroud. I think, D'Amico Ryans maybe a good fit. I know Houston's had some interesting history in the last 5 years with how they've treated their coaches and players, and maybe this will be finally a turnaround for them.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, that's it for our deep recaps. Let's go through our quick hits for the rest of the NFL schedule. Starting up. Next up, Cleveland demolishes the Titans 27-3 as Myles Garrett gets 3.5 sacks and embarrasses the Titans. Also, Deshaun Watson has his best game as a Cleveland Brown, minus that one time where he threw the ball backwards 10 yards. But we don't have to worry about that. But anyways, Browns looking good.
Yeah, Browns, they look very good. I expected it to be closer with Tennessee,
Right.
but they could not do anything.
Yeah. Browns defense, scary. Next up, the Lions win at home over the Falcons 20-6. Thought the Falcons would maybe do more against that porous Lions defense, but Lions D said, hey, we're going to stop the run. Desmond Ridder, go ahead and try to throw the ball. And he can't. Kyle Pitts fantasy owners, look away. I just don't understand Atlanta, what they're going to do with that quarterback position, but they got to figure it out.
I agree. Atlanta was just held down on offense, and the Lions were able to come out with the win.
Yeah. Next up, pretty good game down to the wire. Chargers win on a last-second interception over the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. Sad to say Mike Williams out with an ACL tear for the year. Hate to see that guy. He's one of my favorite players. Hope he bounces back, comes back. But hey, big win for the Chargers. They're 1-2. Brandon Staley keeps his job for this week.
Yeah, the Chargers and the Vikings, this was a close game, but ultimately the Chargers are the better team, and it came down to the last second. Minnesota wasn't able to pull it out.
Yeah. T.J. Hawkinson had that ball in his hands. You could say he should have caught it because it did go off his hands. Good throw by Kirk Cousins. Really, for me, Minnesota's issue in their 0-3 start, turnovers.
Yes, definitely.
All right, next up. The Patriots do what they have done and beat the Jets again, 15-10. I think it's time to move on from Zach Wilson. Your defense is too good, Jets. It's just, and Robert Saleh needs to make a decision, and they need to bring someone in. And I saw that maybe they're bringing Trevor Siemian in, and that's not the answer. It's not the answer.
Yeah, the Jets. It was 15-10, so defensive game, close game, but Zach Wilson and the offense just did not do enough.
Yeah. Next up, Bills destroy the Commanders 37-3. That 3 came in a last-second field goal just to not get shut out. Sam Howell throws 4 picks, and Josh Allen and the Bills have 2 demolishing victories back-to-back over lesser teams. Really excited to see their matchup with Miami coming up this weekend. But again, Bills looking like they're back to their Super Bowl contending form. We'll see.
Yeah, this is what we expected from the Bills and also maybe from the Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just a blowout. No, you thought it was going to be a bit closer than this.
Yeah, I did. I thought, the Commanders were defensively were being, but, it's hard to recover from your quarterback throwing 4 interceptions.
Yeah.
Next up, Chief Nation and Swifty Nation combined to beat the Bears 41-10. I won't get into too much about the cross contamination that's going on between those two worlds, but the Chiefs look great. The offense looks good, but it's against maybe the worst team in the league in the Chicago Bears. I feel bad for Bears fans. As anybody knows, Chicago Bears have never had a great history of quarterbacks, and they're doing it again to Justin Fields, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what's happening with the Bears and how they're going to recover, how they're going to rebuild. And the Chiefs, again, they're just a great team, and the Bears are possibly the worst team in the league.
Yeah. To be seen. Maybe we'll find out next week when the Bears and Broncos play when no one watches. Anyways, next up, Seahawks beat the Panthers 37-27. As a Seahawks fan, I was scared for this game. Andy Dalton seems to have his way with the Seahawks, especially in Seattle. He did play well, but his offensive line is atrocious. And the Seahawks, had down 4 offensive line starters. So only their left guard still playing. So to, give Seahawks a little credit, they did have a lot of offense. They're scoring a lot. Take away week 1 when they got beat up by that Rams team. They bounced back. They're 2-1. And they have a bye coming up, so maybe that'll help them get back to being healthy.
Yeah, maybe the Panthers aren't actually as bad as we thought, or at least as I thought. They were able to only lose by 10 points, and it was pretty close for most of the game.
Right. Yeah. I think Bryce Young just needs a better offensive line, and I think that it's going to be a long season. they made the Seahawks pass rush look good. I mean, it's not really that great. So, next up, Steelers go to Las Vegas, get a win, 23-18. Interesting strategy by the Raiders coach there, Josh McDaniels, deciding to kick a field goal and not go for two, or go for it on fourth down. I'm sorry, when they were down 8. Yeah, he should maybe go to Matt LaFleur's School of Analytics and study that, because that was a really poor decision. Either way, the Raiders are sad and the Steelers are happy.
Yeah, the Steelers bouncing back. They're looking better, looking more as what we expected from them.
Right.
I think beating the Raiders, it was a close game, but, the Raiders, Josh McDaniels people still question. I feel like this is, again, putting down to Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, as a head coach. Remember, his stint in Denver didn't go well. His stint in Las Vegas not going well either. Maybe we'll see him back as an OC with the Patriots, and Bill will get his mojo back. Who knows? All right, next up, Monday night games. Eagles go down to Tampa Bay and win 25-11, move to 3-0. Interesting thing for me is how well that run game is doing against a pretty stout Tampa Bay defense. It was pretty good at stopping the run. Still able to run for 200 yards. So impressive win for the Eagles. I think maybe their own most impressive win, just the way they handled this game. It's pretty dominant on the O-line and D-line, and that's just what they're going to do for the rest of the season. It's going to be hard to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. For Tampa Bay, you're going to be upset about this loss, but I still feel like, you guys are trying, and they'll be competitive in that division going through the rest of the season.
Yeah, the NFC South is a bit weird, with the Saints and Falcons seeming to lead the charge, and the Buccaneers and Panthers looking a bit odd. And the Eagles, of course, they won this game by 2 scores. Dominantly, they were winning the game by a lot for most of it. And this looks like the Eagles that we expect. Of course, against the Vikings, they didn't look that great. They was a close game.
Right.
But now, the Eagles look like they're doing pretty good.
And lastly, our Super Bowl 56 rematch between the Bengals and the Rams. Joe Burrow comes back, doesn't have to move around too much, and leads the Bengals to a victory over the Rams 19-16. A little bit of revenge, obviously not nearly not enough to make up for that Super Bowl 56 loss. But for the Bengals, you got to win in the win column. And you have another divisional matchup coming up against the Ravens, chance to get back to 500 and get a division win and maybe right the ship a little bit. For the Rams, you're going to look at this game and think, we should have won. Some turnovers, offensive line didn't play so great, gave up a lot of sacks, but the game was close and a chance to go to 2-1 and not fall to third place in the division. So the Rams are going to be disappointed in this loss, but it's good to see Joe Burrow is actually playing, and we'll be interested to see what happens in the coming weeks for the Bengals.
Yeah, I think this looks better for the Bengals. They look like they're bouncing back from those losses, and now maybe they're going to get back to the usual. The Rams again look better, way better than we expected, honestly. Then,
right.
Along with the Cardinals, the NFC West looking what we expected to be the worst 2 teams in the NFC West and some of the worst 2 teams in the league, looking a bit better than expected.
Yeah, it's true. All right, that is our Week 3 recap. On to Thursday. Thursday is a great matchup, better than last week's. We got Detroit at Green Bay. Everybody remembers Week 18 last year, Detroit goes into Lambeau, beats Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, makes it so they don't go to the playoffs, gives the playoff spot to the Seahawks, even though Detroit knew that they couldn't win and get in. And they just ruined Green Bay's day. So there's a lot of, animosity here. Green Bay wanted to make up for that loss. They lost at home. Jordan Love coming back in this game, his second home game. But also, there is word that Aaron Jones, Christian Watson may be coming back. I don't think Bakhtiari will be back, but getting those 2 weapons could be really helpful. Also, Detroit getting a little more healthy. Montgomery may be coming back. Taylor Decker maybe coming back to play left tackle. Penny Sewell going back to right tackle, help with Rashawn Gary in that pass rush they'll be facing from Green Bay. So, very, very good game. I'm very excited about it. Winner gets first place in the division. And you know what? I think the Lions go into Green Bay, and I think they do it again. I think this game will be close. I just really going to trust, which is a weird thing to say, but I'm going to trust Jared Goff and to make enough plays on offense. And I think that Detroit will be able to create some pressure on Jordan Love and make things a little more difficult. I do think that Detroit's weakness is that secondary and maybe can be exploited a little bit, but I feel like Detroit's going to do enough offensively. Give me the Lions, let's say 24-20.
Yeah, I agree with the Lions for this game. I think if David Montgomery comes back and they run the ball well and just have that consistent offensive play, they could win this game. So I'm taking them. Maybe if there are a few too many turnovers on one side, that might turn the tables a little bit. I think this is going to be a very close game, but I have the Lions winning.
Alright, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, on Friday, we will all do our Week 4 preview for the Sunday and Monday games, and we'll get that posted. Otherwise, have a great week. Enjoy Thursday Night Football, and we'll see you soon.